Good evening, McGarren Flack here, and I'm going to do some summer pruning. So it's the middle of July, and I have a bunch of fruit trees that are relatively large behind me, and I don't want them to get too big because I'm doing high density planting. I have, I think, 24 fruit trees in the back here, and I need to keep them pretty small. So here's my theory with the high density planting. Trying to keep everything at about 5 feet in diameter. So if it's larger than my wingspan, I'm going to cut it down and make it smaller. And then also, I don't want to make it taller than 9 feet. I'm okay with 8 feet because I can pick 8 feet. And usually if it makes fruit that high, it'll bend down and I'm able to pick it with my hands. I don't have to get onto a ladder or anything to be able to pick it. The reason why I do this high density planting for trees is because I want a lot of variety of trees instead of 3 or 4 fruit trees, that I can enjoy 300 fruits of the same exact fruit. To me, that doesn't sound very enjoyable. But if I have like 5 or 6 varieties of peaches that ripen at different times during the year, then I can have some Babcock peaches and then a little bit of O. Henry peaches instead of having to eat 200 peaches in 1 week. That just doesn't sound very enjoyable. So that's why I do the high density planting, and of course it's a total experiment here in the desert. But back to the main reason why you do summer pruning. Summer pruning is simply for size maintenance. You got to make things a little bit smaller so that you can maintain them. And then in the winter, I will prune all of these trees to produce fruit and to strengthen the limbs in the fruit trees. So a couple of things that you need to do some summer pruning. And here I have some Corona shears, and I really like these ones. Forgot what style this is, but they're pretty darn good shears. These, and then I also have loppers, nice big loppers for those really high and hard to reach ones. My Asian pear tree is pretty large, so I need to cut down the tops of those. I have some isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol, sounds funny. And this nice little rag to be able to clean them off. So each time I prune a tree, I'm gonna clean off with this stuff, and now I'm gonna get back in and watch me prune this peach tree. This first one right here, there we go, that's the O. Henry peach. So I will prune it at about 5 feet and a little bit at around 9 feet, maybe 8 feet, and make it a little bit smaller. So here we go. Okay, you can see that I cut around the edge here, and some of the growth that was coming down at the bottom here. I don't want to cut off this part here is south facing. So the sun will come in and it'll burn the trunk if I cut those out. I lopped off the top so that it is more manageable. I'm going to do the same thing with this peach tree right here. Just trim it down a little bit so it's pretty consistent in terms of size. This is the Red Globe peach. Now diameter wise, it's almost 6 feet, so it's pretty wide. But I don't want it to go too much wider. I'm actually fine with its width. If it goes another foot wider, it doesn't make too much of a difference because I have space on both sides. So let's go to the other peach. Okay, this one is the Babcock peach, right next to the Red Globe. I don't know why I can't remember these names. So the Babcock right here, this one is the only one that I got from Costco that has actually survived. I was supposed to get fruit on all of these trees this year, but because of the freeze, it killed off all the fruit. So next year, which will be great, they'll be big enough to be able to produce a good amount of fruit, especially if I maintain the size a little bit smaller. So I cleaned off the shears, and now it's time to make this a little bit smaller. I'm also trying to keep an opening here so that I can walk between them. I don't want too big of an opening. I want to maximize the amount of fruit space that I have, but a little walkway is good. And I'm going to cut the the pear tree just a little bit more because it's getting too fraily and out there. I want it to be a little bit more compact and solid. But I think that's it for the Babcock. Let's move to the Asian pear. Okay, Asian pear right behind me. I don't remember what variety it is, if it's 20th century or Shinshiki or Shokuru. I don't remember which one it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graft a couple of different Asian pear varieties and figure out which one this is. I think it's a self-pollinating one because I don't have any other pear tree, and this one has produced fruit for a couple of years now for me. So that should narrow it down to a couple of different varieties, and it's a really good tasting Asian pear. I only have 5 or 6 fruit on this tree that actually survived the freeze, but this is all new growth, this light green color, and I don't want it to go up higher. And like an apple tree, this Asian pear produces fruit on little nodes or clusters that are on the main branches that are a couple of years old. So I want to bring it back in so it'll increase the strength of the scaffolding of the trees, and also I'll be able to get more fruit. Isn't that the name of the game? More fruit? Yeah. All right, here I go. Okay, this is a Leopard Cherry, and this is how much growth I got this year. So about 3 feet worth of growth. I'm just gonna lop off the top of this to be able to stimulate more growth. Love the bugs at night, especially it's pretty humid right now. We have these beautiful clouds that are in the back. It's like 100 degrees. And I think that's a locust that is making that awful sound. So, not much that I'm going to do here because there is some growth that's coming around the side. I just don't want it to get too much higher, so I'm just going to chop off this top part. Like that. Call it a day. All right, let's move to the next one. This one right here is the Nectarine. And it's the rose Nectarine. I've had a lot of growth on this guy. Gonna prune the Nectarine down just like I did with the peaches to kind of keep it into more of like a dome shape for the tree. Conical is ideal, but some of these that I have pruned are open vase shapes, so I can't get that conical form. So I'm gonna try to keep it more of a dome shape for it. But this one just needs to be topped off at the top. So I'll clean the shears, prune this baby down. All right, so here I have pruned it down to size a little bit. I also removed a lot of the branches that were pointing down. They're not gonna bear much fruit. There's a theory, let some of the fruit grow on the lowest branches so that squirrels and rabbits and all that stuff can eat from it so that they don't eat the rest of the tree. But I don't know. I have this pretty secured. I have pruned this plum tree that you see right here. This is a Plumcot tree. I'm not sure what variety. I got it from Ballard's nursery, and it is getting really, really high. So I'm just gonna lop off the top a little bit more to stimulate some of that lower growth. So here we go. Okay, it's getting really dark, but just to clarify, you do not want to do summer pruning in the middle of the sun here in the desert, middle of the day. You want to do it in the evening, late evening, or early morning. I prefer late evening so that it gives some time for the branches to kind of heal over or take a rest before they get scorched by the sun by the middle of the next day. So here I've decreased the size of it. Let's move on to the next tree, which is an apple tree. All right, I have a love-hate relationship with this apple tree. Again, those guys are so freaking loud. Love it. All right, this guy, really thick. Look at this awesome growth. Produced no fruit for me this year. So I'm gonna graft a couple of other varieties to this tree because the trunk is really solid and I know it is growing well. The other apple tree died last year. I had some problems with it, but this one, no issues whatsoever. And in terms of pruning this summer, I'm just gonna lop off a couple of the top ones, the really tall ones, and then a couple of the other ones that are kind of whimsical and sticking out to the side. So here I'll prune this guy and then we'll move to the next one, which I think is an apricot. Now this one I think is a Fuji or a Gala, one of the two, and they grow on clusters. And that's important to know because those clusters are kind of tucked in towards the main branches, not on the new growth. And this, if you look at the limb of the tree, if it's green, then that is the new growth. And the fruit is not going to grow on that new green growth. So I'm good to trim that back because I want the fruiting wood to be there and not the growing wood. All right. Here we go. All right, not too much pruning on this one. I don't want to expose it too much. These apple trees have been prone to sunburn in the winter or the summer here, so I don't want to do it too much. But I think that that's good enough for this guy. Not very much. I probably cut about 10 limbs. Again, don't want to cut too much, especially on apples and or pears. Peaches, nectarines, stone fruit, you can trim a good amount and they'll still bounce back and have no problem. Okay, this apricot tree just started to grow last year and it is 6 feet tall already. It is pretty thinned out, but that's because I pruned it that way. I pruned these about last week, I think. There were a lot of branches that were coming out into the middle and it was getting too heavy. So I opened it up a little bit more, hopefully not too much, but we'll find out. If it gets burned, then so be it. And I think this is the Tilton apricot. Here's the Moore Park. It has actually been growing really well. The first 3 years, it didn't grow at all. And this last year, it has been filling in really, really well, which I'm excited for. I think it's because I'm finally understanding that you need to water these things more than I thought I needed to water them. Again, I already pruned this one along with the other one this last week. It's at a good height. It's about 8 feet high and 5 feet in diameter. It had a lot of fruit. Again, died in the freeze. Freaking freezing weather down here. Interesting because I have a neighbor that literally is half a block away, and he got all of his apricots, cherries, peaches, everything. But there is like a 40-foot elevation difference between where I'm at and where they're at. You might not think that that's that big of a difference, but I have done a temperature evaluation between the temperature down here and the temperature down here is about 4 degrees cooler than the temperature at the top of this hill, this little hill that you see in the background. It's about a 24-foot elevation difference and a 4-degree difference. And it might be that I have a block wall off to the side there and the cool air drops down and kind of gets lost or stuck in between the block wall, the house, and the hill, and it just kind of settles in here. But we'll see, because I have other fruit trees on the top of this hill, and if I have another freeze and all the stone fruit freeze down here and none of them freeze up there, then I know it's because the colder temperatures are coming lower. But who knows? Might never happen again, right? All right, now I'm going to show you the jujube. Okay, here's the jujube. And I'm even standing closer to it's 9 feet high. And I prune this thing down. Watch the video. There is a tarantula wasp, and that guy is dangerous. Don't get stung by one. It's really, really painful. At least I've heard. I've never been stung by one, but they help pollinate the jujube. And this jujube, I pruned it down to about 7 feet. It's now 9 feet, and look at how it is filled in. I mean, it is totally filled in. You wouldn't even be able to see my hand if I put it in here. It's so thick and dense. So I'm excited. Get a couple hundred jujubes. So good. Yeah, you can see a couple of the wasps going up there. They're beautiful. I love seeing these things out here. All right, that's it for the summer pruning of my orchard, and I guess I'll talk to you at the next one. Have a phenomenal evening. I'm going to bed. Of course, he's quiet now. What the heck? The whole time I'm trying to talk, and he's making this noise. He, she, they, whatever. Now it's silent. So hopefully you could hear me while I was talking that whole time. If not, I'm sorry. That sucks. Okay, peace out.